Hi everybody, I'm Dr. John Douillard and welcome to LifeSpa.com, where we prove the ancient medical wisdom of Ayurveda with modern science. And today we're going to take a deep dive into nitric oxide and how you can use 3 really powerful Ayurvedic biohacks to support your natural production of nitric oxide. Nitric oxide is a signaling molecule. Research on won the Nobel Prize in 1998 in chemistry as the panacea molecule because it seems to do everything. And since then, there's been so much research trying to figure out how we can support the natural production of nitric oxide in the body. Because studies show, which is pretty sad, that by age 40, we have already lost 50% of our natural nitric oxide production. And there are ways for us to do that. Now, what nitric oxide does is a natural vasodilation agent. And you can think of it like when you're under stress, everything gets constricted and we lose the ability to relax and vasodilate. And that allows blood to get into the tissues, lymph and venous flow to get out of the body. And that natural, when you're a child, vitality and energy and blood supply and nutrition getting into the tissues and out is working pretty well. But as we get older, we get stressed out, things get tighter, and we lose that natural nitric oxide production. And that natural oxide production happens primarily on the skin on the inside. Now, in Ayurvedic medicine, they talked for thousands of years about the critical importance of the inner skin and how that is such a critical piece of the puzzle. When they talk about glowing skin on the outside, they were like, fix it on the inside first. You know, they understood thousands of years ago that there were what called krimi. Krimi are basically invisible bacteria or microbes that they saw or understood or knew that they were there. They couldn't see them because they were invisible, but they knew that they could be good or bad. This was written thousands of years ago. And they also knew enough to not kill them and just take all these bactericidal, microcidal agents. They had enough sense to actually understand it was about supporting the ecology, supporting the natural environment of where the microbes live. And that means the environment on the inside, in our intestinal tract, which is still today in Ayurveda, one of the main premises is don't just, take a bunch of probiotics or take a bunch of antibiotics when you have a cold, but actually create an environment of your gut that actually has the natural microbiome that supports a natural intestinal barrier that protects you from any type of invasion or immune event, which is kind of really, really cool. Even the 2004 microbiome project, early on in the whole idea of the microbiome, they gave us 2 warnings. They said we should stop sterilizing everything, which we didn't do, and expose ourselves to more natural occurring microbes in the dirt and on the foods and things that occur naturally. And the second warning was that there's something called the horizontal transfer of genetic material, right? Which means that we transfer our genes to our kids, called vertical transfer of genetic material from us to our kids. Well, bugs can do it horizontally, like a bug comes into your gut, it's sitting next to another microbe or another bacteria, and it needs some genetic material to get through the intestinal lining to infect you. So it'll actually horizontally transfer that genetic material to that viral microbe, and now it's got that bug, that genetic material to actually penetrate your intestinal lining and infect you. That's called the horizontal transfer of genetic material. And what they said back in 2004 in the Human Microbiome Project was that ability to do that, it wasn't based on proximity, like just happened that the virus happened to be next to the bacteria that had that genetic material that it could sort of borrow. It was based on ecology. It was based on the environment of the intestinal tract. And they said that the most common agents that produce this effect were livestock, like the bird flu, for example, a perfect example of our overwhelming too much exposure to too many animals on a farm. And that was the #1 way that they saw the horizontal transfer of genetic material happen. So anyway, we have that in our culture right now. Bird flu is a big thing, and I'm still trying to figure out how to fix that. So that's something that's really, really interesting. So anyway, the idea was that the inner skin was so critically important. I've written many articles about that. And the lining of your arteries and your lining of your skin are all nitric oxide producers. And nitric oxide has been shown to increase the delivery of oxygen, lower your blood pressure, lower your blood sugar, protect your heart from cardiovascular disease, increase mitochondrial energy, increase cognitive function, your sexual health, your immunity. It's the panacea molecule, right? That's why they called it that in 1998. So it's really important. And since it declines so much as we age, the main mechanism that declines is sort of what we call the arginine-citrulline pathway, which is one that you get from eating certain foods that convert arginine and citrulline into nitric oxide. Luckily, there's a backup plan, and that's the one I want to talk about today, is how Ayurveda makes darn sure you get the nitric oxide the way that we should as we age, and kind of reverse this idea that we have to basically lose so much of that production as we age. It's a real powerful longevity molecule, and very, very Ayurvedic, because it comes naturally out of our tissues when our tissues are healthy, right? Which is really, really important. And that backup pathway is called the oral salivary nitric oxide pathway, which means when you eat beets, you've all heard of eating beets, maybe you've heard of eating arugula. They're high in nitrates, and those nitrates, which are really bad when they use them to process meat, but the naturally occurring nitrates in foods like beets and arugula and spinach and things like that, they, in your mouth, with the right bacteria in your mouth, these anaerobic bacteria in your mouth, they convert that nitrates into nitrites, and those nitrites mix with your saliva, activate, and then when you swallow it, activate the production of nitric oxide in your stomach. And according to research by one of the top nitric oxide researchers on the planet, Nathan Bryan, who found that pathway has a systemic effect of nitric oxide production throughout the body, which is really, really cool, where you just get those right amount of those nitrate foods, and you have the right bacteria in your mouth with saliva, you're good to go. It's really that simple. That's all you got to do. Except for we do a bang up job in our Western culture to kill those bacteria that convert the nitrates to nitrites and the nitric oxide. And that's what I want to talk about today. So there's really good studies that show if you use mouthwash or alcohol, anything like that, that has alcohol in it, it's going to kill those bacteria. And you're not going to produce any of the nitric oxide. In one study, it showed that they actually said that mouthwash, the ones that kill 99% of your bad bugs in your mouth, whatever, they abolished the production of nitric oxide. That was a quote right out of the study. And you can go read the full article with all the science behind this on my website at LifeSpa.com, and just type in, nitric oxide 3 Ayurvedic hacks, because I'm giving you 3 tools to make sure that you maintain those bacteria that convert the nitrates to nitrites, which is a critical, very simple, and very natural piece of the puzzle. We've screwed that up on a regular basis. So other studies show that when you eat, drink, do a mouthwash thing, or have alcohol of any kind, it'll actually decrease your nitrite levels, which is what's been converted from the nitrates. It also has been shown when people get beetroots, which has got a lot of nitrates in it, and then you do the mouthwash, it literally lowers the amount of nitrites in your plasma, like in your blood. So it's really a blocker. And therefore it blocks the ability for the nitrites to convert to nitric oxide, and therefore lower your blood pressure, and you don't get that blood pressure lowering effect. So throw away your mouthwash for sure. Now, before we get into the Ayurvedic hacks, let's talk about the other thing that is sort of ubiquitous in our culture, and that is called fluoride. And fluoride is in our water, is in our toothpaste, and it's extremely toxic, and it is an absolute blocker of the conversion of the nitrites nitrates rather, to the nitrites and conversion of the nitric oxide. One study showed that after daily use of toothpaste with fluoride in it, there was a significant alteration of the microbiome, knocking down the bugs that actually convert the nitrates to the nitrites, which is important. Another study that showed that the fluoride will block the synthesis of the nitric oxide from the nitrites. Another study showed that literally the fluoride will decrease the proliferation of the nitrate producing bacteria, all of which bad, really inhibiting your production of nitric oxide, which is really critically important. And another study showed that when they did kids who lived in a high fluoride environment for children that were living in a lower fluoride environment, like not any fluoride in their water versus a lot of fluoride in the water, the kids with the fluoride in the water had a significantly lower IQ. It was linked to decreased learning, disabilities, decreased memory, and even central nervous system dysfunction. So it's a problem, and I know that there's a lot of movement right now to get the fluoride out of our water, and you want to really think twice about that. Alternatives to that for tooth decay would be something like xylitol, where you can chew some gum, and that would give you a lot of protection against the dental caries. There's other ways that we're going to talk about making that protecting you against dental caries as well, Ayurvedically, with one of our hacks. Let's talk about our 3 Ayurvedic hacks to make sure that your mouth has the right bacteria to produce the nitric oxide the way we were designed. The first one is oil pulling. Oil pulling, or kondusha, is when you take a blend of sesame and coconut oil. The one that we use is called Swish, and it's got sesame, coconut oil, a little bit of turmeric, a little bit of peppermint oil to make it really taste refreshing. You put it in your mouth, you swish it for about 10 to 15 to 20 minutes. That swishing activates it saponifies the oils and makes it into like an antiseptic. And it's been shown to be as effective as the mouthwashes in protecting you from gum health concerns and protect your mouth from poor gum and poor oral hygiene. It works just as well as that. However, it doesn't kill all the bad bacteria. All the bacteria. It only kills the bad bacteria. And studies show it kills a couple of bacteria. One in particular called Streptococcus mutans, which is the one that's responsible for plaque on your teeth. But if that bacteria, because your mouth's gotten dried out, your gum's gotten weak, and you get a little blood on your floss, whatever, that's the entry point for that bacteria to get into your blood. And it's been linked to about 63% of the plaque in your arteries. New research showing that might even be related to the plaque in your brain. So here we go again. Your mouth is an entry level. You want to keep it really strong. In an Ayurvedic medicine, every morning they would swish the oil in their mouth and saponify and therefore get rid of a lot of the bad bacteria, match the effectiveness of a mouthwash in terms of that, but not kill the bad, but create an environment for the proliferation of healthy bacteria, which are really important. The coconut oil has been shown to actually knock down Candida albicans. It's been shown to change the environment, according to the studies, to boost the environment for the natural support and production of the nitrate producing bacteria, which are really important, and also decreases the competitors for that conversion of the nitrates to the nitrites, which is really critically important as well. So that's why the oil pulling is right. I've got some links in the article associated with this video to read more of the actual science on oil pulling, because there's even more science behind it as why it works and all that. I've written about 2 or 3 articles with all the science there at LifeSpa.com. Just go there, type in your oil pulling, and all those articles will pop up. The second biohack is tongue scraping, taking a copper tongue scraper and cleaning your tongue first thing in the morning. Studies show that the bacteria that convert the nitrates to nitrites are on the dorsal side of your tongue. So when you scrape your tongue, it's been shown to actually get rid of the debris that build up on your tongue and allow your body, your food, to have more of the natural exposure to the nitrate producing bacteria. And that's studies of just scraping your tongue. Other studies show that it's been really effective at oral hygiene. It's a natural kickstart to your digestion in the morning. It also has been shown to, decrease biofilm in your mouth. And like I said, support the proliferation of the naturally occurring nitrate bacteria. So tongue scraping, weirdly, you think just scraping your tongue, what could that do? It does a lot, particularly for oral hygiene and particularly for your production of the nitrate producing bacteria, which produce the nitric oxide. You want to use a copper tongue scraper because it's the only FDA approved antiseptic metal. And that means that it's not killing bugs in your mouth. It's that it doesn't attract bugs in your bathroom. So when you put a tongue scraper or stainless steel, like in a little cup next to your sink, that is going to fill with bacteria all over onto that metal. It's really like loaded. But copper is naturally resistant to the accumulation of bacteria. So that's the only one you should use, the only metal that kind of wards off bacteria. Critically important, well studied, in fact. And then the final one is sleeping with your mouth closed. Because you ever wake up with a dry mouth? Well, and I wrote an article about this, studies show we have about 1,000 different types of bacteria in our mouth. And when you're dry, you wake up in the morning, your mouth is all dry, you change the environment in your mouth. That doesn't support the proliferation of the good bugs, but it does support the proliferation of the bad bugs, like the Streptococcus mutans, which we don't want. So keeping your mouth the same environment is critically important. The way to do that is to keep your mouth closed. I had a patient of mine who came to me years ago, and he told me that every time he went to the dentist, his entire life, he's in his 60s, he got a report with dental cavities and he had to get fillings every single time. And his gums, he had to work on them like crazy to keep them healthy. He started taping his mouth closed and training himself to actually be a nose breather while he sleeps. And after 6 months, he went to the dentist. It was the first time in his life he didn't have a dental cavity. So really, really important. And the one that I use, when I think of mouth taping, I know people say, oh my God, here we go again. It's a training tool, not a life sentence of putting tape on your mouth. That's not what we're talking about here. You don't have to pay $1 a night with these tapes that people are selling to do this. You go to the grocery store and you get this one right here that I get for a couple of bucks called NextCare. It's a tape for sensitive skin. And what you do with that is you take the tape and you put it like this first. Okay, and if it's there in the morning, you did great. If it's on the ceiling in the morning, it didn't last. You didn't last very long. So keep trying to put it there. No lotion on your skin because it won't stick. Put it there until you wake up with it there. And once it's there, start doing it this way across the whole mouth. And once that's there in the morning, you've trained yourself, put the stuff away, and then when you start waking up with a dry mouth again, retrain yourself as well. Each training can sometimes last 3 to 6 months before you start getting into the bad habit again or whatever. But really, really important because when you close your mouth, you produce nitric oxide in the paranasal sinuses. So it's another pathway for you to get the nitric oxide to go into your respiratory tract, which will give you antiviral, antibacterial protection. So the idea there was you would go talk to people all day long, eat stuff, your mouth's full of who knows what. You breathe it into your respiratory tract. Your bugs, you're exposing your respiratory tissue with that type of potential pathogens. You go to sleep with your mouth closed. You breathe in nitric oxide, which, by the way, is the body's most powerful antiviral gas. You breathe that in, it kills those viruses or bacteria that might have been potentially pathogenic, and you protect yourself from getting sick. And there have been studies. When I first went to India, I was doing research on nose breathing and mouth breathing, looking in all their libraries for research, and I found research that they had infantries that were nose breathers versus mouth breathers, and the mouth breathers were constantly getting sick. The nose breathers never got sick. Parents would teach their babies to tuck their chin while they sleep, close their mouth, so they train them to be nose breathers while they sleep. Even in Native Americans, we had the papoose, which was a really straight board that would force the kid's head to be like this, and they would strap them in like that, and that would keep their chin down, mouth closed, and they would be, again, trained to be nose breathers, something we lost in our culture. So that's the third biohack, very, very important piece of that puzzle. There are foods that increase nitric oxide you should know about that are also written in this article, if you like, and that's beets, arugula, spinach, bok choy, Swiss chard, romaine are the top ones. Having those foods with a little bit of vitamin C or sprinkled with amalaki which is a vitamin C rich herb, been shown to boost the effectiveness of the nitric oxide. And herbs that have been powerfully shown to boost nitric oxide, triphala, powerful, like 4 times the generation of nitric oxide, ashwagandha, shilajit, and amalaki are the ones. And then for those of you who realize that most of the water in America is basically has fluoride in it to help somehow protect us, you can get rid of that fluoride with a host of different water filters. And we have one that we put on our counter. There's a zero filter. There's a couple of different brands that I wrote, and I put in this article a whole chart comparing about 7 of the different water filters that you can put right on your counter, that you can put the water in, and that becomes your drinking water for sure. And you can compare how well they block the fluoride and what else they do, and you can buy yourself a countertop pitcher where you can put that have that ready to go for your tea or coffee or your drinking water or whatever you want to do with that. But that's a really important piece of the puzzle, is to make sure you have some way of getting that fluoride out of your water, and don't buy fluoride toothpaste anymore. And you can get all that at LifeSpa.com. And read the article on nitric oxide, the 3 biohacks, and that chart for the how to get the fluoride out of your water is there for you. And that's, again, all free. While you're there, sign up for our newsletter so you get this information on a regular basis, and check out our Ayurvedic store, which is linked from our website, or go to store.lifespa.com, and you can see all of our Ayurvedic herbs and skincare and everything that we have there as well. And don't forget to just go to the LifeSpa.com and type in your health concern. There's 1,500 Ayurvedic articles with the ancient medical wisdom and the modern science to give you information that's got both the science and the ancient wisdom that's been time tested. To me, that makes the most sense. Science alone, it can prove what it really wants. But when you have time tested wisdom and science, I think it's worth at least taking a look. All right, you guys, thanks for listening. I'm Dr. John, and we'll see you all next week. Hi, everybody. I just want to take a minute and tell you what we do here at LifeSpa.com. I've been in practice now for 40 years, 38 of them have been practicing Ayurvedic medicine full-time. For the last 20 years, I've been writing articles and doing videos on the ancient medical wisdom of Ayurveda with the modern science. If something's been around for 1,000 years, still practiced today, and you have modern science to prove it, boy, I really feel like that's something we should all be taking a look at. And that's what we do at LifeSpa.com. And all that information is for free. So just go to LifeSpa.com and search in your health topic, and you'll get the information, the article that you need, hopefully that will help you. While you're there, check out our Ayurvedic store. You can get there through LifeSpa.com, or go to store.lifespa.com. And there we have all of our organic Ayurvedic herbs, organic skincare line, more books, tapes, knowledge that we give you is all there at our store. All of our cleansing kits are there in our store. All of our herbs are whole herbs with the natural occurring microbiome, the way it came out of the soil. And that's critically important, because if I took the bugs out of you, you'd be completely different. We take the bugs away from a plant, like sterilizing, making an extract, or spraying your food with pesticides, you lose significant benefit of that plant. And that's why we use the whole plant with the natural occurring microbiome. So check us out, learn more about what we're doing here at LifeSpa.com, and we'll see you again.
This recording is brought to you by LifeSpa, where ancient Ayurvedic wisdom meets modern science. Get access to free health video newsletters by Dr. John at LifeSpa.com. These statements have not been evaluated by the FDA. These products are not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent any disease.